This is a video of a cow eye dissection. You'll be asked questions periodically throughout this video.
On the superficial surface of the cow eye, you can see some skin and some musculature still attached. We can also see cranial nerve 2, the optic nerve, on the back. The fibrous layer is the outer layer of the eye. It consists of two parts: the sclera, which is the white of the eye, and the cornea, which is the transparent portion that light enters into. It looks gray here because this is a preserved specimen. Let's cut the eye into a frontal section so we can look at the structures of the posterior segment, which is located behind the lens. Here we can see the back of the iris, and the pupil. The dark area surrounding the iris is known as the ciliary body. The ciliary body helps to anchor the lens in place through the suspensory ligaments. Taking a look into the posterior half of the eye, this object is the lens. You can see that the lens is attached to a gelatinous sac. That's called the vitreous body. The vitreous body fills the posterior segment. It's in contact with this delicate yellow membrane. That's the neural layer of the eye, known as the retina. The retina contains the optic disc, which is where axons from the retina leave the eye, forming the optic nerve, which is cranial nerve 2. The optic disc is known as the blind spot because photoreceptor cells aren't present here, and therefore visual information cannot be received in this area. The retina, which is the neural layer, is in contact with the vascular layer called the choroid. And the choroid is in contact with the fibrous layer, the sclera. The eyeball is divided into two segments: the anterior segment in front of the lens and the posterior segment behind the lens. The anterior segment has two subdivisions: the anterior chamber and the posterior chamber. Let's remove the cornea of the eye and look behind the cornea into the anterior chamber. You'll notice a clear watery fluid leaking out of the incision. This fluid is the aqueous humor, which fills the anterior segment. The anterior chamber is the space between the cornea and the iris. The iris is the colored part of the eye. It's a muscular structure that controls the size of the pupil. Let's put a piece of white adipose tissue behind the iris so we can better see the shape of the iris. And the opening in the middle, which is called the pupil. Light passes through the pupil to the lens. The pupil leads into the posterior chamber. which is the space behind the iris, between the iris and the lens.
This ends the cow eye dissection video.